So I used to communicate with this person until I found out that they were Israeli, and then I stopped communicating with them. But when I went on Facebook the other day, he came up as it just goes to show you how whenever you're wondering, like, how does somebody who I was not searching for on Facebook or Instagram, how do they come up with my suggestions? Well, that's the whole purpose of what these multi-billion-dollar corporations do. One nation under blackmail. The goal is to have all of your data and to basically be watching you 24/7. And so one of the suggested people was this guy who I used to communicate with as a friend. I decided to check out his page, and he's as pro-Israel, pro-genocide as you could possibly be. The reason I bring this up is because he reposted or had made a post himself based off of this guy named Carl Ginsberg with a statement regarding why people support Israel the way that they do in spite of everything that's going on right now. And I figured this would be a good opportunity for you to dispel any of these talking points that they decide to throw, because it's all propaganda as far as I'm concerned.
It's Hasbara.
Is this it, Colin? Yeah, this is it. Okay. To the anti.
I'm sorry. I saw the opening and I couldn't. Go ahead.
To the anti-Semites of the world. You say we run the banks. You do. You say we control Hollywood. You do. You say we dominate the media. Larry Ellison, you do.
They're literally right now buying up as much, like playing whack-a-mole with our content and buying up as much as they can. So
you say we have too much influence, too much power, too much pride, but you never ask how or why. So let me tell you. We were banned from owning land, so we learned to live by using our minds. We were blocked from trade guilds and professions, so we became merchants, scholars, doctors, and lawyers. Would you care to explain how long ago this was that this type of stuff was going on?
Well, what's interesting is that this person is conflating two completely different eras. So what he's saying, or what they're saying is true. Jews were prevented from many different trades. That is true historically. And that is the reason that they got into loaning money and banking. They weren't allowed to own things. They weren't allowed to have businesses. Their businesses would be destroyed. And it's also true that there were quotas on the amount of Jewish people that could get into medical schools and law schools. That's absolutely true. The reason that we have DO schools, why there's DO programs, that started as a Jewish response to being quoted in MD programs in medical schools. So, I mean, what he's saying is true, but then you're saying, okay, so we're blocked from this, so that's why we became doctors and lawyers. Well, no, because you were blocked from that too. So it's kind of an interesting conflation of time periods. So what he's saying is true, but that's not a justification.
From many centuries ago, many centuries ago, our commitment to education didn't stem from privilege. It came from necessity, from exclusion, from survival. When we were barred from universities, we built our own yeshivot. Is that how you say it?
Yeshiva?
I guess.
Well, okay. So hold on. I'm so blind.
You're too busy watching the chat.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not. I have to lean in so close to see that. And my screen is far away. Yeshivot. So it's when you say things in plural, it's like an OT at the end is plural. So it's yeshivas instead of saying the yeshivas, like the different university, you would say yeshivot. Right. Okay.
Okay. The Torah became our moral anchor. The Talmud, our intellectual training ground. Okay, so the Talmud is, I mean, it's like the Devil's Handbook. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah.
And so right there, they're admitting, yeah, we love the Talmud. Kind of like that meme, you know, that guy. When we were mocked for being bookish, we made knowledge our defense. The insult became our armor. Okay. Oh, in medieval Europe, so about, I don't know, 1,200 years ago, give or take, Christians were forbidden by the church to lend money with interest, but kings still needed loans, and someone had to do the collecting. So they turned to the Jews, already despised, already othered. We became money lenders, not by ambition, but by force. Then we were hated for it. Well, let's see.
That is true. Like there is historical fact there.
Sure, I agree.
But obviously, as we have progressed to the modern era, we are so far past that now. So for somebody to be claiming this as some sort of like reasoning or justification for usury or for being a piece of shit, we're so far past that at this point.
I agree. And the other component that you also have to remember here is that there is a difference between if you are lending with interest. So for example, today, if you have a credit card, a perfect example of usury that should not exist is if you are collecting interest on a credit card. Why do we have interest loans on credit cards? Now, granted, not everybody can pay on time. There are reasons for that. Why is it 20% interest on credit cards instead of something like 2%, which I think most people would find very reasonable? That's an example of usury that is completely insane. And in the banking system, yeah, whether you like it or not, and you can say that it isn't necessarily a Jewish practice, even if they dominate the industry, there is no denying what they turned banks into. So this whole denial of what they ultimately allowed it to become or wanted it to become, it's like, why take 2% when I can take 5, I can take 11, I can take 50? This is, I have always said, of the worst.
Okay, but do you see where the problem is? The problem what's the problem?
Well, you know what? Maybe you need to explain it so that I'm.
The problem is capitalism. Okay, see, that's the problem. It's a systemic problem. The fact that Jews participated in it at the level at which they did and continue to do so, that's just, someone taking advantage of something that's already a problem. But I don't think that this isn't going to prove any point for this person here.
Well, I would definitely say that capitalism capitalizes on capital cannibalistically, because there is something to be said for having absolutely no regulation whatsoever, zero. That you could just do whatever you want if you want to get it. This would be an example. Well, okay. So let's assume that it's greed, EC, if that's your name. Here's what I would tell you. Capitalism cannot survive and will not survive and isn't surviving without a balanced mechanism, which for the general population, it is socialism. So why do I mention that? Of all the things that Wasserman Schultz...
And there it is.
Yeah. Of all the things that Wasserman Schultz has done as the congressional representative in the area that you're in right now, there are a lot of places that we could go, especially in terms of foreign policy. But in terms of domestic policy, the fact that that person has been in bed politically with payday lenders for decades. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate form of vulture capitalism. There is nothing worse, because the people who get payday loans, first of all, they're marketed to people that have nothing anyway. So they basically want to turn them into slaves. And then the people who get them, they cannot get out of them. It's basically, you are a wage slave for life. And that is an example of usury that to me is criminal, of the worst kind. So to defend it the way that he's explaining it is fucking crazy. In America, we were shut out of the respectable jobs. So we went west and helped invent Hollywood, not to brainwash, but to dream, to tell stories, to make magic. I'm not even going to comment on that one. When Ivy League schools capped Jewish admissions, we founded Brandeis. Boy, did you ever. When hospitals wouldn't hire Jewish doctors, we built Mount Sinai and Cedars. When law firms closed their doors, we opened Skaden and Watchtel. We weren't trying to dominate. We were just trying to live. Oh,
but will you hide me?
Will you? We were expelled from Spain, massacred in Poland, hanged in Iran. Really? Hanged in Iran? That's new. Lynched in the Ukraine. It's Ukraine, not the Ukraine. Bombed in Germany, and yet we survived. We learned, we remembered. In 1948, the world watched as nearly 1 million Jews were expelled or fled from Arab lands.
And why? And why? In conjunction, in coordination, and at the behest of the Zio entity, working in conjunction with the Zio state, because that's what they wanted to happen so that they could boost their numbers and have a majority Jewish population. They were willing to accept the brown Jews that they deem Mizrahi Jews, which is just a phrase for you're not us, you're not Ashkenazi.
And they can't handle that truth.
No.
Their homes, businesses, and synagogues were seized and or burned. There were no refugee camps, no UN agencies, no worldwide calls for justice, no right of return for the Jews of Baghdad, Aleppo, or Tripoli. You say, you say we are tribal, but we tried to integrate. We changed our names, straightened our curls, abandoned our faith. But every time we tried to disappear, you reminded us who we were. So we turned inward. We leaned on each other. We built synagogues when your houses of worship were closed to us.
God, this is so maudlin. And you know I hate maudlin. This is like such victimy crap. Like seriously, this really does remind me of Cheryl with, will you hide me?
We built synagogues when your houses of worship were close to us. We built hospitals and golf courses. We built golf courses, Jen, when we weren't welcomed in yours. We built advocacy groups to defend ourselves when no one else would. And when no country would have us, we built our own. We were attacked by 7 Arab countries seeking to destroy us on day one, but somehow we survived. I think they are forgetting a couple of very important details about that particular statement now, aren't they?
Yes. And I, unfortunately, am not very well versed in the events leading up to what happened in 67, but I know that it was prompted, provoked, and sought out by the Zio state. So whatever did happen, and we're going to get a lot more into that tonight with our guest, but, you know, Israel was seeking to expand its borders. So it's the same kind of things we do, like what we're doing right now with Venezuela, case in point. We sit there and we do little things and we pick and we pick and we pick, and we want to create a response so that then we can justify a full-on war. That's what I envision in 67. There was crap going on like that, and Israel was poking and poking and poking, got a response, and then used that as the to manufacture the consent for what they did to expand their borders.
Then came October 7th, 2023, the worst day in the history of mankind. You say you hate Israel because of its policies, because of a dispute over land. Yeah, that's what it is. Because of borders. But on October 7th, 2023, Hamas didn't target soldiers. They didn't storm checkpoints or military outposts. They savagely raped women and they beheaded babies.
Oh, wait, it's okay.
This was posted about 5 days ago.
Oh my God.
They burned entire families alive. Actually, what they're doing, Jen, is they're just telling on themselves. You see, Israel isn't really Israel, it's Palestine. And they just switched the names up to kind of hide themselves. I mean, hiding and everything.
This is just the fact that somebody would still use those debunked stories, the narrative of October 7th, this late in the game, that then destroys any credibility of anything else that this person is saying. Because you are not a serious person if this is what you're putting out. This is not serious. This is just, you are appealing to your small little echo chamber of people that are also, I guess, in the Cheryl echo chamber, those people that truly believe they're victims and they feel fearful.
Yes, but you have also stated that especially in affluent Jewish communities, they are brought up with this victim mindset. Like you're always the victim. It's always, everyone is out to get you. Everyone always hates you. It's one thing if you're brought up in a poor Black community and you are told that everyone hates you, don't trust the cops. You're talking about it from a perspective of people, not because they're black, but because they have nothing. They have no money. They have no infrastructure. Trying to get out of that in a capitalist system is damn near impossible for most people. Then you add in various elements that make it even more difficult. When you are part of the elite, privileged Zio class, and you talk like this, you garner zero sympathy.
No.
You, in fact, get to a point where when your state is inevitably disintegrated, and that is where it's heading, no one is going to shed a tear. You will all shed tears for yourselves with your money in Argentina, in Cyprus. It's not going to be Thailand anymore because they're kicking you out. It is what it is. This is a prime example of why people hate Jews. This is it. This fuckhead posting this is a prime example of why that is the case. We'll continue. They slaughtered civilians in their homes. Again, a lie. Their bomb shelters and slaughtered young people at a music festival. It was the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And as our dead lay unburied, the world didn't mourn with us. It rallied against us.
That's just factually, that's just untrue.
This was posted by an extremely affluent Zionist Jew 5 days ago.
Can we get a picture of this tool?
No, let's not do that.
I'd like to see who I'm dealing with. Like, I just like to put a face with the name. That's all.
College students held glory to the martyrs signs. Jen, what have you always said about martyrs?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of martyrs. You know what I'm saying?
One person's terrorist.
Oh, that's what I say about terrorists.
Yes, they're calling it martyrdom. They're calling it martyrdom, but so
one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yep. Excuse me. Protesters waved swastikas in Sydney. Yeah, paid protesters who are doing it purposefully to boast the Zionist cause.
Absolutely.
Gas the Jews was graffitied in Berlin. You mean like after Zoran won and they graffitied a swastika and it was proven that it was one of the congregational members of that synagogue who did it? Or graffitied in Berlin. Jewish students were barricaded inside libraries in New York. That is a lie. They were not barricaded inside.
Again, still, I have not heard or seen first-person witness testimony that somebody felt threatened, scared, or was unable to function in their normal capacity based on the pro-Palestinian protests. I have not seen one. We constantly have people like this saying that there were all these fearful Jewish students. But I've actually seen Jewish students at Columbia saying the exact opposite. So I don't believe this. Yeah. And nor did you.
And so MIT students were blocked from class. At Harvard, kids were told to remove their Stars of David for safety. I mean, like I said, I have no sympathy. All while our hostages were still bleeding in tunnels. The dehumanization of the Palestinian people oozes out of this person's writing. So no, this isn't about our borders. You hated us before 1948. I wonder why. Before the state of Israel existed, before a single border was drawn, what you hate is that the Jew now has power, a flag, a standing army, a government, a home. You preferred us weak, wandering, apologizing, dependent on your pity or permission to live.
But you still are, though. You're completely dependent on our permission to live because you couldn't exist without American empire.
Oh, you ain't kidding. Israel is not a gift. It is a necessity. We didn't colonize the land. We rightfully returned to it. Jews have lived in Jerusalem, Hebron, Sifed, and Tiberias for over 3,000 years. Hence why they promised us 3,000 years ago. We prayed toward Zion for centuries. Yeah, you sure did. We spoke Hebrew while the world told us to forget.
No, you did not.
This is this might, I tell you, the longer this goes, the better it gets. We made the desert bloom. No.
Wait, can I address the Hebrew thing first?
Yes, please.
So Hebrew, modern Hebrew, the language that that Israel speaks, that is not Hebrew from the written word that we have in scriptures. Modern Hebrew was created for the reason of what he's saying. You know, now they have a flag and an army and a language, all of that. Exactly. That's why they created it. Modern Hebrew was created by the Zionist state when they created the Zionist state. That's not the same language. Actually, what the original Jews in the area spoke was Arabic. Well, Aramaic and Arabic, but the Palestinian Jews who were the Jews from there, they didn't speak Hebrew. Nobody spoke Hebrew until it was resurrected and created in the 40s.
Excellent point, partner. Maybe the worst part of their entire statement. We made the desert bloom. No, you made the desert bleed. That's what you did.
I'm so disgusted. I participated in that. I planted trees to help make the desert bloom from the savage Arabs who didn't know how to cultivate their land. Seriously?
We drained swamps, planted forests, revived a lost language. We welcomed Holocaust survivors. God, they really are depraved people. Russian refuseniks and Ethiopian Jews airlifted from famine.
My mother-in-law participated in that action, airlifting the Ethiopian Jews when she was with this big international group with JCC of Americas and all this stuff, right? They brought the you told me today you wanted me to address these things.
Please.
Okay. So the Ethiopian Jews, they were airlifted, and yes, they were brought in to then be treated as second-class citizens in an apartheid state, but simply because it added to the Jewish majority for the same reason that the Zios had the Arab neighbor states expel the Jews to help get their numbers. That's the same reason that they hijacked the Ethiopian Jews, and they have been living there as second-class citizens ever since. So
we built a nation while surrounded by enemies. You wonder why? Embargoed by the world and haunted by the ashes of Auschwitz, Israel was not built because of the Holocaust. No, it was allowed to be built because of the Holocaust. It was built because of 2,000 years of exile, genocide, and betrayal. And it is the only insurance policy against the next one. Never again is not just a slogan. It is the Iron Dome. It is the F-35. It's the determined 18-year-old girl in olive green standing guard so toddlers in Sderot can sleep. Why the double standard? When Russia invaded Ukraine, the world cried out. Blue and yellow flags adorned every profile. You mean every shitlib's profile?
Yeah, we didn't like that either, and we thought that was ridiculous too. The difference is, this is somebody who's being completely unserious, right? The difference is that even if I were to say that Russia just randomly invaded Ukraine, which I don't believe that that's what happened, but anywho, that's one sovereign nation invading another sovereign nation. That's between those two sovereign nations. That sort of a thing. If you want to take the team, pick a team. When Israel creates a genocide in Gaza, that's not an invasion of a sovereign nation. That's an oppressor invading their oppressed people that have no means of defending themselves. It's different.
Weapons, refugee aid, solidarity, all rights offered. But when Hamas burned Israeli children alive, again, lies. We were told to de-escalate. When we defend our cities, we are called monsters. You are monsters. When we bury our dead, you protest our grief. Why? Peace is possible? We've tried. You say Jews are foreigners in the Middle East. No. Zionists are foreigners.
No, Ashkenazis are. Ashkenazis are foreigners in West Asia, okay?
But the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan disagree. The Abraham Accords, that could be a whole show on.
So, in other words, our American empire kingdoms, in West Asia are on our team because we pay them to be, right? That's what you mean. So they agree with us, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Israel sends aid to Syrian earthquake victims. Oh, you mean the money that we give them then gets sent to the earthquake victims?
You mean how Israel's basically trying to expand its borders into Syria and so help facilitate the coup that just we facilitated there so that now we could be breaking bread with the Al-Qaeda terrorist that was on our America's most or our international most wanted list more so than bin Laden? That's Syria? You're helping
just remember, we're going to bring democracy to Venezuela very soon as well.
Oh yeah, that's
Israel sends aid to Syria. The earthquake. Arab doctors and lawmakers serve in the Israeli Knesset. We seek coexistence. No, you just see supermajority. You chant from the river to the sea. We choose life. You chant death. No, we choose Palestinian liberation. You choose Zionist genocidal hell.
The amount of videos that I have seen of Israelis over the years, and not just in the past 2 years, like always, jumping and chanting death to Arabs, literally death to Arabs, is overwhelming. I have seen that so many different times in my life that this is just so absurd. And yet I have never seen, the only time I saw anybody chanting death was that, what's his name, or what's that group, Death to the IDF, which that I appreciate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
but that's the only time I ever saw anybody on the side of, justice for Palestine chanting anything about death.
You're right. So yes, Israel is strong now because a powerless Jew is a dead Jew. And history taught us no king, no pope, no president will save us. Except for the Donald. We don't want to dominate. We just want to live. Won't you let us live freely? Proudly, unapologetically. You don't have to like us. You don't have to agree with us, but never again will you decide whether we're allowed to exist. I'm Yisrael Chai.
Au contraire. The whole world is making its decision about whether or not you choose to exist. And here's the spoiler. You don't. And it's going away.